Okay, so we are really, really pleased tonight to welcome Faye Anderson. She is the director of All That Philly Jazz, a place-based public history project that is mapping Philadelphia's lost jazz venues and landmarks and documenting the social history of jazz. Drawing on archival materials and oral histories, she uncovers hidden and forgotten stories. Faye leads walking tours about Billie Holiday, Green Book sites, and jazz history in Center City, North Philly, and West Philly. So we'll just let these noisy people sit down. You're good. You're good. Let's give a nice warm welcome. Nice warm welcome to Faye Anderson.
Well, just for the word. You doing, Judy? All right. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Because they can see me. People like this. No, but just the cover page, the first slide. Yes, uh-huh. Okay, are you ready? Can you hear me? Okay. I first want to, oh, I guess I have to. Yeah. You know, the thing is, I look at people, but the mic is here. So I'm going to remind myself to speak into the mic. Oh. You can move your chair closer. I can look at people. What about on this side? The cord bump. Okay. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, hi everyone. As Marianne said, I'm Faye Anderson, director of All That Philly Jazz. I want to first thank Marianne for inviting me to make a presentation about Moses Williams, a 19th century visual artist who was buried in the archives and erased from history. I've been asked to talk about historical marker program. I'll do that at the end, but I was on a Zoom call last January, and at the end of the Zoom call, I forgot what we were even talking about, but someone said something that triggered the recollection of a conference or a symposium that I had attended at the Whitney Museum 15 years ago. And then I did a Google check and Moses Williams and Carol Walker. And I said, yes. And 2 weeks later, I had submitted the pre-application for Moses Williams historical marker. And I have to tell you, and I have been obsessed with Moses ever since. Charles Willson Peale, next slide. Charles Willson Peale, painter of the Revolution, moved his family and enslaved servants, Lucy and Scarborough, to Philadelphia from Annapolis, Maryland in 1775. It is believed that Peale acquired Lucy and Scarborough as payment for a portrait commissioned by a plantation owner in, in, in Annapolis. Peale is best known for his portraits of George Washington, including Washington at Princeton. The original portrait, Washington at Princeton, was completed in 1779. It is owned by the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, which Peale co-founded in 1805. The portrait of George Washington that Peale painted in 1776 is prominently displayed in President Trump's gaudy Oval Office. You see it there? Did you all recognize that as a Charles Peale painting? Okay. Moses Williams was born into slavery in August 1776, the same year that Peale painted that portrait of George Washington. At the time of Moses' birth, there were roughly 2,000 free Blacks in Philadelphia and less than 400 enslaved Africans. Moses and his parents, next slide. Moses and his parents lived with Peale and his family in a house located on the southwest corner of 3rd and Lombard Streets. That's the house. Peale freed Lucien Scarborough in 1786, six, 6 years after Peale and after enactment of an act for the gradual abolition of slavery in 1780. Now, Charles Willson Peale was a member of the Pennsylvania General Assembly for one term, so he voted for the abolition for the gradual abolition of slavery act, but that didn't stop him from enslaving people. After manumission, Scarborough changed his name to John Williams. At the time of his parents' emancipation, Moses was 10 years old. He was forced to stay in the Peale household as, quote, an indentured servant. After his manumission in 1802, 1 year shy of his 28th birthday, Moses took his father's last name, hence Moses Williams. Next slide. This is the only image of Moses Williams. The original silhouette is in the archives of the Library Company of Philadelphia. In 1996, curators at the Library Company attributed the silhouette to Moses Williams. So until 30 years ago, no one knew what Moses looked like. So even though he was a master silhouette artist, in that respect, he was like the millions of enslaved Black people, faceless and invisible. That is Moses Williams' signature. It was found on a probate record at familysearch.com. Has anyone ever used familysearch.com? So that's his signature. Oop, I have to stand up at this point. I told you I'm obsessed with it. I didn't find it on familysearch.com. I was on a panel and someone else found it and he sent me the probate record. Next slide. Charles Willson Peale's historical marker was dedicated on January 1st, 1999. It was located at 3rd and Lombard, where the house was located, but the marker is missing. How long it's been missing, I don't know, but the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission knows it's missing. Next slide. Peale opened his first museum in his home and studio at 3rd and Lombard. So he opened the museum in 1784 with a collection of 44 portraits of Revolutionary War leaders, statesmen, scientists, artists, and other notable figures that he painted. His goal was to honor individuals whose lives represented the central human qualities that fueled the American Revolution and would sustain the new republic. Next slide. Many of the portraits are now in the portrait gallery at the Second Bank of the United States. Who has been there? Of course, when did it close? No, when did it close for the last time?
It's still open, it's just not enough staffing.
It's still open, so someone can go?
Yeah.
So it's closed.
I heard it would be open in June, so.
Oh, okay, that would be great. I went there maybe 10 years ago, and only at that time knew nothing about Moses. And the only thing I remember was that it was so humid in there. And so I could understand why it would have to be closed because it was very uncomfortable. But anyhow, so moving right along, in 1786, Peale expanded the museum to include natural history specimens. His house was stuffed to the gills with fossils, mounted animals, birds, insects, minerals, and other physical specimens from nature. And mind you, his family, he had a large family. He had either 14 or 16 children over the course of 3 marriages. And so he had all of those children, the museum, and Moses. So the first museum opened to the public in 1786. In 1794, Peale moved his museum along with his family and Moses to Philosophical Hall. Who knows Philosophical Hall? What is Philosophical Hall? Somebody? This is what you do on your walking tour, remember? And you know, Philosophical Hall was the headquarters of the American Philosophical Society, founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1743. Members included Peale, George Washington, John Adams, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Paine, Benjamin Rush, and James Madison, among others. Next slide. Philosophical Hall it was the headquarters of the American Philosophical Society, but much of the building was rented out, including to the University of Pennsylvania, whose students were called to class by the ringing of the Liberty Bell. The red arrow points to the museum sign above an entrance to Philosophical Hall. Now, if you look at view Philosophical Hall from the State Yard today, you'll see a museum sign. I don't know whether that was the original museum sign, but there's still a museum sign. You know, Peale designed the museum as, quote, a school of nature combining art and science. The displays reflected that mission. He kept a small menagerie of live animals in the State House yard. Moses was trained in animal husbandry, so he took care of the animals, which included grizzly bear cubs, monkeys, birds, an American bald eagle, elk, and possibly an alligator. Moses was a skilled taxidermist, so when they died, he prepared the birds and other animals for display in Peale's museum. He also assisted with object display. So, though enslaved, Moses was the first Black museum professional. He's still enslaved. Next slide. The nearly complete skeleton of a mastodon, the great incognitum, became the museum's star attraction. Peale and his sons excavated the bones on a farm near Newburgh, New York in 1801. Next slide. Moses was not on the excavation trip, but when the bones were brought to Philadelphia, he was instrumental in the reconstruction of the skeleton. Mind you, he's still enslaved. Mill said this about Moses, that Moses, quote, fitted pieces together by trying not the most probable, but the most improbable position, as the lookers on believed. Yet he did more good in that way than anyone among those employed in the work. This was in 1801. Moses was still enslaved. The mastodon was unveiled for public display at Philosophical Hall on Christmas Eve, 1801. Okay, 1801. But now I'm going to fast forward 46 years. The Peale Museum struggled financially and was forced to close in 1847, 20 years after Peale's death. P.T. Barnum, anyone? Okay. P.T. Barnum purchased most of the museum's collection in 1848. In fact, the portraits in the second bank, the portraits were bought by the city of Philadelphia at auction. So now they demolish anything and everything, including the president's house. But they bought those portraits, and those portraits are now in the second bank, the portrait gallery at the second bank. So P.T. Parham bought just about everything else. Somehow the mastodon ended up in Germany, where to this day it's in the collection of what is now known as the State Museum of Hesse. There it is. Mind you, this enslaved man, Moses Williams, was instrumental in its reconstruction. Now, next slide. Now, if you don't want to go to Germany, you can see the mastodon. You, huh? Right, right. Yes, yes, right, right, right. Right, 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 right. Right, right. If you don't want to go to Germany, hop on SEPTA and get off at the Fifth Street Independence Hall station on the west side, and the Mastodon is there. That illustration was drawn by one of Peale's son. Next slide. Peale's museum moved to the Pennsylvania State House, the building now known as Independence Hall, in 1802. The long room, you know the long room? The long room on the second floor is where Moses Williams earned his place in history. Peale installed, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'll just say Peale installed a face tracing machine in a corner of the long room in December 1802. Peale trained Moses on the face tracing machine and entrusted him with its operation, and the rest is art history. Next slide. That is a screenshot from a National Park Service video about Peale's museum, which you can view at the Independence Visitor Center. Well, at least I say you, as of maybe, who knows what you can view there, but with as recently as the fall, it was on view at the Visitors Center. And so that's Moses doing his thing. Now, a silhouette portrait is typically about the size of a credit card. It was very inexpensive means of creating a profile. So it democratized portrait painting, because before the silhouette, it was, a painting. And you had to be of a certain economic class to be able to afford the price of a painting plus the time sitting there. And so with a silhouette, you can have your profile done in just a matter of seconds. Um, so the Peale Museum moved to the State House, Independence Hall, in 1802. At that time, Moses was still enslaved, but he was finally manumitted in 1802. What month, I don't know. And so it was 1 year before he was 27th. And so Moses and his parents were not subject to the gradual abolition of slavery act, because the parents, because they were born before 1780. And again, Peale voted for the act. Peale could have manumitted them at any time, but he didn't. He manumitted the parents at 28. So I guess because he voted for the act, that was his framework for emancipation. So the parents were manumitted at 28. Again, Moses was 10, and Moses became an indentured servant. So when he was manumitted in 1802, he was 27. So 1 year, I won't say 1 year before he was required to be manumitted, because he was not subject to the act. But again, that was Peale's framework. So in 1802, Moses was manumitted. In his first year as a silhouette artist, so his first year was 1803, Moses, about over 8,000 people purchased a set of profile portraits, over, so 8,800 to be exact. That represents 80% of the museum visitors. That's how popular it was. Now, Moses was not the only um, um, silhouette artist working in town or in the area, but because of his skill, he became very popular. So that first year, over 8,000 at a cost of 8 cents each. You know, I tried to do with the inflation calculator what is 8 cents today, and I don't know. 8 cents in 1803, and it just did not calculate. But he earned enough through the fees he collected to that he saved enough money that he purchased a two-story house. Now, mind you, it was not that first year, but he earned enough over the course of his career to purchase a two-story brick house in Old City. He married a white woman named Maria, who served as the Peale family's cook, and the couple had 4 children. Now, doing the genealogy really kind of stops at those 4 children. And so don't know whether he has any living descendants. And I suspect if he has, they're probably passing as white today. But the chart doesn't go beyond those 4 children. Next slide. Moses' silhouettes are in the archives of the American Philosophical Society. Now, you can imagine Moses worked as a silhouette artist from 1803 until his death in 1830. So you can imagine how many thousands of silhouettes he cut over that period. So he called these the blockheads, um, um, almost like the discard. And so some are in the archives of the American Philosophical Society. So you can imagine they have hundreds of what Moses called blockheads. The image on the right is some of his silhouettes on display at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and his silhouettes are on display at a bunch of art institutions. And I should have added that the silhouettes are in the archives of, I said, the American Philosophical Society. Also, the Library Company of Philadelphia has the original silhouette, and the National Anthropological Archives at the Smithsonian Institution. Next slide. Now, Thomas Jefferson was a member of the American Philosophical Society. He was voted and he was elected to membership in 1780. And he maintained a relationship through his death in 1826. Even when he was president, he was involved with the American Philosophical Society. So I have to believe that Moses and Thomas Jefferson crossed paths at some point. Again, Moses lived in Philosophical Hall, which was the headquarters of the American Philosophical Society. His enslaver painted portraits of Thomas Jefferson. So I assume at some point they crossed paths. Those silhouettes, Moses' silhouettes, are on display in Jefferson's library in Monticello. And the YouTube, they have a really nice, maybe 20, 25-minute video of Moses Williams, produced by the folks at Monticello. Moses Williams worked for Peale's Museum until his death on December 18th, 1830, at age 54. Next slide. At the time of his death, Moses lived with his wife and children at 10 Sterling Alley. Anyone familiar with Sterling Alley? Yes? Jen, you are?
Yeah, I think I know where it is.
Where is it?
It's a little side street, not too far from here, if it's what I think it is.
It's not too far from here. It's now Oriana Street.
Yes.
Right. So he's 10 Sterling Alley. So that would be between Cherry and Race. Race is the next one. And so that's where Moses lived. That street. Now those I've been corrected by, there is a whole group of Moses Williams scholars. I did not know this until. Why do you all laugh? They really are. No, there really is. No, no. They- um, um, no. I said they were cobblestones, and they're not cobblestones. Thank you. No. They're not even based in Philly. None of them have even been to Oriana because they're scattered all over the country. And they have a group. Um, no, you can't join it. I mean, they have a group, a Google group. They've invited me, but they're such nitpickers. So anyhow, that's and- that's where Moses lived, and those Belgian blocks are now part of the listed on the local register. They're what is it called? They're the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. They have historic street paving thematic district. Everyone is aware of that. Yes, sure, of course. No, really. Established in 1998, and those that block of Oriana is part of these of that historic district. And I think Quarry and other blocks, in Old City. Now and again, Moses died on December 18th, 1830. And if you go to Wikipedia, I don't know how you correct Wikipedia or now all of the entries about Moses, because that group, they actually tracked down Moses' year of birth and date of death. So if you go to Wikipedia and other sites, it has he was born in 1777 and died in 1825. They tracked it down. He was born in August 1776. So this year is the 250th anniversary of Moses' birth. So Moses was born in August 1776, don't know what day, and he died in on December 18th, 1830, and actually have that record. And so he was originally interred at the Northwest Burial Ground, which was located at somebody. Where? No. Yes, close, Northwest. No. It was located at Fairmount and 16th Street. Okay. And sometime between 1860 and 1875, the burial ground was sold, the bodies disinterred, and the land developed. The bodies were reinterred at Mount Moriah Cemetery, which has been in the news quite a bit of late. Um, but the cemetery has no record of Moses. The bodies were interred in a mass grave, and there is a headstone but they have no record. They have no record of Moses. So we don't know where Moses is. Yeah, don't know. We know where his enslaver is in Old Pines Cemetery, but don't know where Moses is. Okay. So Moses historical marker will be dedicated on Saturday. Oh, I didn't even say I did nominate Moses. I did say that 2 weeks after that totally unrelated Zoom comment. So you just never know where Zoom call will lead. So two weeks later, submitted the pre-application, and he said okay, and so then submitted the final application. And that group, those nitpickers, they were very useful because they all submitted letters of support of the nomination. And so his marker will be dedicated on Saturday, October 24th. So mark your calendars. You're all invited. And the reason October is because, again, he was born 1776. Something else happened that year. And so where I want the marker to be installed is in the heart of it. So I have, the streets department has the final say on where a marker goes. And so I have recommended that the marker be installed. I propose that the marker be installed. What building is that? You will pass it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's where the second location, that was the second location of Peale's Museum. So Moses worked there and the family lived there. So Moses worked and lived in Philosophical Hall. So I assume that side, the west side of the street is off limits. That's National Park Service jurisdiction. Does anybody know? With those, exactly. I could have said it better myself. And so I have proposed that the marker be installed directly across from the building, right in front of Thomas Jefferson Garden. You know Thomas Jefferson Garden? So right in front. See, I've been doing well because usually, I'm gesticulating like a mad woman. So I've been doing well. And so that's where I've proposed that the marker be installed. Again, the streets department has the final say. I sent them the recommendation last month. I have not heard from them. So it either means that it's okay or they haven't even looked at it because, again, it's October and it's probably they'll get to it when they get to it. And so if that location does not work out, then the second location is Third and Lombard. Why? Why? Exactly. That's where his story began. And wouldn't it be ironic? His enslaver's marker is missing. That Moses' marker goes up where his enslaver's marker used to be. But even though I have a bit of a mean streak, I can't be me. What I'm going to do, because included in that group are Charles Willson Peale scholars. So if we end up going to Third and Market, I'm going to reach out to them and ask, will they pay to have the marker replaced? Now, the state will repair a marker and will restore a marker, but they generally do not replace markers. And markers cost around $2,500. And so actually, I nominated Lee Morgan in 2022, 2022. And that class was the first time that the state actually paid for markers. And so now they will pay for a marker to be installed. But before 2022, you had to pay to have the marker installed. So, that was a barrier. The person is worthy, but you don't have $2,500. But now this, I didn't have $2,500 in 2022. I'd have $2,500 to pay for the marker. So I was going to do a GoFundMe or something, but the estate actually paid for the marker. Now you have to pay for the installation, but that's only $750. And of course, for the dedication ceremony itself, but that could cost as little or as much as you want. So you do have control over that. So if Moses end up back where he started at Third and Lombard, then I'm going to reach out to not just that group, but the Charles Willson Peale scholars, wherever they are, and get the 2,500. Because it wouldn't look good for Moses to be there and his enslavers still parts unknown. But the next slide. The nomination process has opened. It opened on February 5th. And in the coming weeks, I plan to nominate Hercules Posey, who was President George Washington's enslaved chief cook and the nation's first celebrity chef. Hercules, as you know, was one of the 9. Now, I'm calling them the Philadelphia 9. And so he was one of the 9 enslaved Black people who worked and lived in the president's house and adjacent structures. Now, I have that T-shirt. So that's the image of a T-shirt. That is an AI generated image of Hercules. Now, no one knows what his face looked like, but the outfit he's wearing is based on a description of an outfit that Hercules wore as detailed in George Washington Parke Custis' book, down to the cane. That's exactly what Custis described. Now, mind you, the book was published, sometime in the mid 1800s. So up until AI, all you had was the text of this outfit that Hercules wore. Now, and I'm sure maybe there's a graphic artist out there, if given the description, could have done it, but not with that detail. And so so we now know. So in the book, Custis says that Hercules wore that outfit and he would leave through the front door and, strut and walk and stroll and greet people because he was a celebrity. So enslaved, but he was a celebrity. And so greet people as he walked along Market Street wearing that. Now, I have full confidence that the interpretive panels will be restored. And I was a little bit, not a little bit, I was very disappointed when the judge said, on her inspection that she didn't see any damage, because I was hoping that they were damaged because they are desecrated. Now, thrown in the back of their pickup truck and tossed wherever they are now. So we'll never look at them the same. And so I was hoping that they were damaged so that now, we have technology that was not available in 2009, 2010 when they were created. So use today's technology rather than the technology from 2010. And we have an opportunity to correct an historical error. In one of the videos, it had the video of Hercules that has an image. Well, we now know what we did not know in 2010. That's not Hercules. You know the image with the hat? Well, we now know that's not even a chef's hat. That in 2015, 2016 or so, I think the painting is, I should have written it down. I think it's either in Spain or Portugal. And the group went from here, went there, including a Charles Willson Peale scholar, and examined the painting because they thought it was done by, who's the one with George Washington? Yes, they thought it was right. So they examined it to see whether it was his. No, it was not his. And so not only is it not Gilbert Stewart's, it's not even a chef. So it's not Hercules. And so now that we know it's not Hercules, it doesn't make any sense to put, because he is on one of the interpretive panels, it doesn't make sense to put that back up there because we know that's not him. And of course, the video, that's not him. But we don't know what he looked like. We do know what he looked like because he describes him, the height and his general weight, but we don't know what his face looked like. But we do know what he wore. And there's Hercules. Okay, I'm going to close with, it's in Madrid. Okay, I did say Spain or Portugal. Thank you, thank you. Always one, isn't there? Always one. Thank you, in Madrid. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. There are two, in this group, there are two. Okay, so next slide. All right. Now this is the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. They do workshops on webinars on nominations. And so this is the next three slides are their slides. And so always one. That's okay. You're the one. You're the one for every category. So you're for the phone, the know-it-alls. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. All righty. Okay. So again, the next three slides are from the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission webinar. Now, anyone can nominate a person, place, or event for historical marker. Applicants must demonstrate state or national significance and provide strong primary source documentation. The next slide. The program, no, back to, okay, that's fine. Again, the program opened for pre-applications on February 5th. Pre-applications must be submitted by April 1st. And the advantage of a pre-application, they'll tell you, maybe you don't want to spend any more time on this nomination. So it really is a good thing that will either put you on the right track or tell you that we don't think so. And so that's good. So the final nomination, so again, the pre-application, April 1st, and the final nominations must be submitted by June 1st. Next slide. And this is the last slide. In last year, the PHMC updated its application form. So now you have to complete a worksheet, as opposed to writing an essay. And so when I submitted for Lee Morgan, the jazz trumpeter, his marker was dedicated on International Jazz Day 2024. So for his marker, for his nomination, I had to write an essay. So we have two. And so for me, it was easier to write the essay than to complete the worksheet, because the worksheet is so tedious, is so bureaucratic. They ask, how did you find out about this source? What difference does it make how I found out? This is the source. And so I was so there are 10 questions, And by the 10th question, I just saw the internet. That was where I wrote it. I didn't quite say it like that, but that's what I was thinking. And so now you complete this worksheet, and to their thinking, the worksheet levels the playing field because they think that oh, only historians could write the essay. And so with this worksheet where you know, 3 or 4 sentences here, then 3 or 4 sentences, that is it democratizes the process. But for me, it was easier to write the essay than to complete the worksheet. But you have the worksheet to complete, and the most important thing is having good primary sources. And now in the age of AI, this year I see on their form they say, if you use AI, tell us. Who's going to tell them? And I mean, that really democratized the nomination process. So they want you to tell them if you use AI, but they say they will not use AI to make a determination to whether to approve or not approve the nomination. So you have your in by June 1st, and this year they've given themselves more time. Usually you would hear September, October. Now it's December before you'll know whether the nomination has been approved. And both, this will be my third nomination. And both for my first 2 nominations, I found out that the nomination was approved the same way. Not from the state. Somebody had posted the press release on Twitter. So I found out Lee Morgan was approved on Twitter. I found out that Moses Williams was approved on Facebook. Then when they finally tell you in 2023, they sent you the package. So that came a couple of weeks later. I already knew that it was approved. And so they mailed you the the letter. This year, they didn't mail the letter. They sent you a PDF, but even that was 3 weeks after I read it on Facebook. So you talk about anticlimactic. And so mind you, so with Lee Morgan, I found out on Twitter mid-afternoon. With with Moses, it's now, you know, I tell folks I do have a day job. So I work, my passion is after 6, so 6 to midnight. So here it is now. I'm tired. 11, maybe 11 o'clock midnight, just about to sign off for the day. And so one of my Facebook groups, a notice popped up. So I just clicked on it. You know, what is it now? And that's how I found out at midnight from Facebook. And so for that group of nitpickers, I did tell them that same. So as soon as I found out, I told them, and that's it. That's right. Yes. No, no. Oh, oh, oh. About to say that.
Yeah.
Philadelphia has 2 Moses Williams Physiono traces. One
Thank you.
is on the 2nd floor of the Independence Hall building, and the other is in the 2nd bank.
Right, but I did not know there was one Independence Hall.
Well, when we did a tour up on the 2nd floor,
right,
and
it
it's
did.
right back there in the corner.
Really?
And the other one is
Well, I'm going to make a reservation. I'm going to go and see.
Okay. also the Macedonian, a couple years ago, that was on display in Thomas Jefferson's garden. And nobody seemed to know what the deal was at all about it. And
Come on.
his portrait, I mean, his own, couldn't that have been done by one of his students? Because you can't do it yourself.
Well, it's either the world's first selfie, or it's attributed to Raphael Peale, one of Peale's sons. And they don't believe that he did it because in the group there is a silhouette artist, and so she went into there was the library company had a program finding Moses Williams. This was in November. I said, "Aren't you a little late for that finding Moses Williams?" I found him. He's going up. And so there was a silhouette artist who, one of the presenters, and so she went into great detail why that was not Moses, because, you know, you look at the, you look at the chin, the eyelashes, the hair, it was too coarse. Moses was very fine. His touch was very fine and very delicate. So she did not believe that it was done by Moses. So it's not the world's first selfie. No, but I want to get back to the, I'm not going to try to pronounce the face tracing machine. So you saw it in the last 10 years, the last 5 years? When did you see it? The last 5 years? No. You said it was on Independence Hall. Right. When was that? Oh. Okay. You.
Okay.
Yeah, people in Zoom are completely left out right now. And like, that's about fantastic.
Okay, sorry. Apologies.
Thank you. Thank you for this work. It's really appreciated.
Thank you. Do you know who you look like?
Who do I look like?
Paul Schaefer. You've heard that. Haven't you heard that? And you sound like Paul Schaefer. Anybody that you see the resemblance?
That is the first time anyone's
Really?
ever said that to me.
Okay. All righty. First time for everything.
Yeah, okay, I'll use it. Is there any evidence that Peale taught Moses his skills, or did Moses acquire it all as his own? Because Peale taught all his other kids.
Exactly.
But did he teach Moses?
Well, right. So all of Peale's children were named after famous artists. He taught all of them the fine art of painting, but he did not teach Moses. And mind you, they're all in the same household. So Moses probably had to go and get the paint. And but no, he did not teach Moses the fine art of painting. He trained Moses on the face tracing machine. He probably taught him, taxidermy, but Moses picked up a lot of it on his own. All right, I'm going to tell you all. I've been obsessed with Moses, but what really got me going was that three of Peale's sons are famous artists in their own right. And one of them, Rembrandt, he named them after artists. One of them, Rembrandt, he really had a thing for Moses that I won't say an essay, it was closer to a letter to the editor, but Rembrandt wrote, Moses by now was already dead 20 years, but Rembrandt wrote about Moses in such negative terms that 20 years after his death, he was still living inside his head. Now, it's hard for me to believe an enslaver thought of the enslaved as his child, but they had a special, Moses did have a special relationship with Charles Willson Peale, that in his letters to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, he mentioned Moses. At one point, when again, Moses had 4 children, on the birth of one of his children, it was mentioned, Peale mentioned in a letter to Thomas Jefferson. So he felt something for Moses. And so reading that nasty note that Rembrandt Peale wrote 20 years after his death, it was like he was jealous of Moses. And I could not imagine. Here he is. He grew up in a household of a famous man. He became famous, respected in his own right, but he was jealous of his enslaved, he would have called him, he was jealous of his slave. And so when I think of Moses now, his father has historical marker. It's missing, but he has it. Rembrandt doesn't have historical marker. And so Moses turned to him and say, "How you like me now?"
This is one for your nitpickers. The New York Times in 2008 and again late last year called cobblestones Belgian block, or called Belgian block cobblestones. They can't seem to get it right. So you can do it either way you want because they do.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if this is significant at this point, but you have brought up some curiosity in me. So
Okay.
you speak about Rembrandt talking about Moses in a very negative way. At this point, I just, based on the letter that you were able to find, what were some of the things, what were some of the issues that he had with Moses?
Okay. Peale, as I read, Peale, Charles Willson Peale gave Moses a lot of credit for assembling the mastodon. Moses was so popular. His silhouettes were so popular, raised a lot of revenue for the museum, so contributed to the success of the museum. Down the you can pay for the silhouette, then separately you can buy a frame for the museum. So imagine if how many people paid for the silhouette. Moses ran the concession, so he got that for the silhouette, but then the museum got for the frame. So he contributed to the success of the museum. And again, his father praised Moses, talking about the new baby and all. So in this I'll say essay, he says, he was basically good for nothing. He was worthless. He was lazy. He said everything other than shiftless. He was worthless. He was a drain on a family until he became a silhouette artist. That's not how his father described him. And then he said, and then he married my father's cook, Maria, and she wouldn't even look at him. And she, no. Rembrandt said Maria would not even look at Moses before I guess he became successful. We do not need to know that. That is the only negative thing we know about that. We don't know anything about the relationship other than what he wrote, that she wouldn't even look. Again, she was the family cook, and she wouldn't even look at Moses. Why would he say that 20 years later? Oh, because she wouldn't look at him. Mhm.
All right, I guess it's my turn. Representing the Zoom guests, Graham brought up and I'm going to share it because it has an image that supposedly Rembrandt is credited via Wikipedia on doing a portrait of having, not a portrait, but a Rembrandt Peale supposedly had Moses sit for a portrait. And that's what this is accredited to via Wikipedia. So I don't know if you can.
Is it the Indian?
It's got like a red
Right.
headdress.
Well, we don't know whether that's Moses.
The share.
Right,
I was like, since we're talking about Rembrandt, we're not into
right,
the.
right. And that's part of, what the group, right, that we don't know what Moses looked like. His parents were um um mixed race, and so they were probably light skinned. And so maybe Moses was light skinned. We don't know. And so, yeah, we don't know whether that's Moses or not.
Well, it was kind of like the animosity of my father is giving more time to the slave than he is to
Exactly,
me.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And the second thing is, I was told, well, I ain't gonna say I was told, but a little bit of research that these physiognomal traces were used as identification. For example, when you went off to sea for like 7 years or something, before you went, you had one of these done. And when you came back, your people could identify you with the trace because people could still, people were stealing identities back and forth back in there. All you needed was paperwork. But with
Okay.
the trace, it identifies who your actual relative actually, you might have that little pimple on your nose that's in that little trace form right there. And that's how they identified their relatives that came back from 7 or 8 years at sea or off into the war.
Okay, I have to ask Chat GPT about that. Thank you. Any more?
I have a question.
Okay. Mr. President,
yeah.
yes.
The Macedon. You said it's in Germany right now, right? Did they give credit to Moses in that museum? We're gonna look that up. Okay.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No, probably not because it was an anthropologist. Probably not because it was a circuitous way that it ended up in that museum, but probably not. But I want to get back. Someone said it was on display at the Jefferson Garden. Oh, no, it could not. It could not have been. What was it? It was
It was a replica of
a replica. Okay, all righty.
Also, what is one of his
You mean the fifth?
one of his traces? Would that be in the Smithsonian or in the African American Museum in Washington, D.C.?
You mean one of Moses' silhouettes?
No. The actual instrument itself. Like, for
Oh.
example, we have a replica of Benjamin Franklin's printing press, which the originals are in the Smithsonian. So, where do you think you would find an original from Moses Williams?
Oh, this is sad. Now, again, Hal found out his exact date of death, that one of the group members came here to the Register of Wills and went through those records. So came with the probate for Moses' possessions. And so he had a coat, some miscellaneous items. And there was one item that was miscellaneous items that were sold. There was one item that was not sold, and it was. Mhm. No. So no, right. So it could be wherever Moses is buried. We don't know where Moses is buried. Maybe it's with him. But no, as far as I know, there are no original. So you have the replica in the two. Well, I have to go to Independence Hall. And has anyone else seen it there, Independence Hall? Okay, I'm gonna go because when I went after I was during the period I was writing the nominations. I wanted to go to the long room because I'd not been there in a long time. And of course, when I went there, did not know it was a long room, did not know anything about Peale's museum. But the ranger knew, and their faces lit up when I mentioned Moses Williams, and they were so happy. So and this was last year. So I kind of think that if the machine was there, they probably would have said something to me at that time. And then when I went to Independence Center, a ranger went in the back, may not be there now, but maybe 10, 15 years ago, the Park Service did this sheet on Moses Williams. And so had the bio and then a bibliography. And so she went there and she gave me a copy of it. So I said, wow. And it's so old that it's on a CD-ROM. So to try to get a copy from like do a Freedom of Information Act request, I don't even think that they would go and look at a CD-ROM. So that's how long ago the Park Service did that fact sheet on Moses Williams.
If you ever run into Larry, the park ranger, he will answer your question.
Larry, the park ranger.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Tall, skinny guy. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there on Saturday at the president's house. Saturday. Are you all going to be there? Because that's where we met, remember?
I remember.
It was that cold. Oh, you going to be there
3
Saturday?
weeks ago.
Oh.
The German museum calls it the Peale Mastodon.
The German Museum.
No, but he asked, do they give credit? No. Wait, I could.
Moses did not get credit.
No. Saturday is February 14th. So the significance of February 14th? Come on. Thank you. What? No, he said it. Frederick Douglass's birthday. He did not know, like most enslaved, he did not know his date of birth, but he claimed February 14th because his mother called him her little Valentine. And so at the president's house on Saturday, going to post flyers of Frederick Douglass, and because he's my Valentine. Frederick Douglass. Are you afraid? Oh my God!
Ernest plays Frederick Douglass.
Oh my God!
He likes to keep it under wraps.
Wow! Are you?
All right, so this is great.
Are you going to come on Saturday?
We have a shot of Ernest on camera here, so we.
Come on. No, but that was in. It is. Oh my God! Are you going to come on Saturday? Oh.
This is Ernest as Frederick Douglass.
Oh wow!
A little poofier. All right, so let's give a nice warm thank you to Faye Anderson.
Thank you. You all asked some great questions, and so I have my homework to do. I'm going to look for Larry the park ranger, and I'm going to go to the long room and look for that face tracing machine, and I'm going to see whether the portrait gallery will be open in June. It should be open. It should be open. Right. Okay, well, that's great.
I told you. That's what. No, I'm just gonna watch it. I can't.
Months ago. You remember when I came through? I think I put you on the end.
I would imagine. So they get together.
Walk down Market Street and see it.
Yes.
Straight like enough.
Yes, that's right. Hi.
And your salad is here.
Oh, I'm gonna take it. I'm not gonna be late.
So I'm going to do it. So we're just going to do, I have a quick presentation we're going to do about Destination Capitol Hill. So if you need to leave, leave now or stay. I mean, I would prefer that you stay, obviously. But just got to pull it up here. No worries. Do you have it? Yeah, I guess that. Okay. So I think she has my first slide up. So really quickly, this is just a quick, yeah, and then we'll let Bill talk. Oh, no, it'll be quick. This is quick. This is not going to be long. I just wanted to talk about Destination Capitol Hill because it's coming up again this year. And given all that's happening at the president's house, giving all the hits to international tourism, there might be people, in this group who are interested in going to DC and participating in this activity. So I went in 2024. I never got to do a presentation about it because I was going to do it the night George Leone did his presentation about Homecoming 250. So if you guys were here and you remember, he went like a full hour and a half. So I did not get to do it then. So it didn't seem relevant. And then last year it didn't seem like there'd been any use in going, but there's a lot of things, happening in tourism. So when I went in 2024, it's this event called Destination Capitol Hill. It brings people from all 50 states who are in the tourism industry to come and lobby their elected officials. So I was with a Pennsylvania group. So we went and talked to all the Philadelphia area representatives, but they do advocacy training. They have guest speakers and there's networking. So that's kind of their big plug there. And what they do is they give you a bunch of asks. So they ask you in your small group, when you go to see all these elected officials, you're going to ask for these 5 things. And then at the end, you can add in whatever you want, right? So they wanted lower visa wait times. They were telling us this in 2024, that if people from Brazil wanted to come to go to the World Cup, they had to get in line for their visa now in 2024. There's an average of 400 days for people to get visas to come to the United States, if you look at all the different countries. So really, people that travel, that have already been to the US, there's certainly ways that they could cut down that time for a lot of those people. They can use, then they have lower customs wait times too. On average, people wait 2 hours to go through customs. So if you've waited 400 days to get your visa, then maybe you have a lot of air traffic problems, right? Trying to get into the airport, circling around and waiting, right? And then you spend 2 hours going through customs. People are already done and don't want to come back here before they've even seen anything in the US, right? So they wanted lower visa wait times, lower customs wait times. The customs border protection is way behind the rest of the world in the technology that they use. So there is a lot of room for improvement if Congress would approve these things, right? They wanted to fully fund the Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Travel and Tourism. The US is one of the only countries in the world that doesn't have a federal tourism board. Our states have a tourism board, but if the Pennsylvania Tourism Board has something that they need addressed, they don't have anyone in the federal government to go to, right? There isn't a federal board they can go to. So they have Congress had approved to get an Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Travel and Tourism, but funding wasn't given to them. So one of our asks was, okay, you've already approved this position. Now can we get the funding? Now this was in 24. So I don't know if these things, my guess is they haven't improved, but I don't know for a fact that they haven't. They wanted to advance the FAA reauthorization. Air traffic controllers, there's one school in Oklahoma, and when a class starts, really low percentage of that class graduates because it's hugely stressful, which is okay. I mean, you don't want people becoming air traffic controllers who can't handle a lot of stress, but we're really understaffed in our air traffic controllers. So that was to get this FAA reauthorization. They're going to have more funding for schools, more funding for teachers, more programs to get in schools and encourage kids to think about this for a future career, to even know about it, that kind of thing. And then they wanted the reps we talked to, we were to ask them to join the Congressional Travel and Tourism caucuses. So they have these caucuses in Congress, and we were like, hey, can you get in that caucus? And then maybe you could push some of these points ahead. So I was with Team Pennsylvania. There was me from APT. There were 2 women from Visit Philly. There were 2 people from the Green Book experience. So if you don't know, the Green Book was this book of African Americans where they were allowed, like hotels and restaurants where they would be welcomed, you know, under Jim Crow. And then now they made a book, this Green Book experience. They actually published a book of all those places, and they wanted to do tours that were like, you know, for African Americans or for anybody, but going to those places where African Americans were welcomed, the places that were still in existence. So they were cool. They were there. CNTV, they do video recordings of conventions. So they had been in Philly for a lot of like big, huge conventions at the convention center, and then the Pennsylvania Tourism Board. So these are just some pictures of us. Those are the Pennsylvania people. We were all together there at Capitol Hill. We met with Senators Casey and Fetterman. Obviously, Casey's not there anymore, McCormick now, but then the House Representatives Boyle, Fitzpatrick, and Evans. Now, I actually live in New Jersey. So they asked me, you know, hey, do you also want to meet with your New Jersey reps? And I was like, no, just I want to focus on Philly, you know, for the tour guides. But if you were from New Jersey, you could also meet with those people. We ran, so a lot of times you don't meet the actual reps, you meet their staff people. And they told us, you know, that's not a bad thing, because the staff people are the ones who are going to push those issues in front of them. So they're the ones who actually do everything. So we were just dropping stuff off at Fetterman's office, and we saw him in the hallways. We were like, hey, can we get a picture with you? I was really excited then. He's not really my favorite anymore, but we were really excited then. He was in his typical hoodie and shorts, so it was kind of fun. It was cherry blossom season when we were there. This year it's going to be in April, so then it was March, but every year it's kind of different when the blossoms are, so you never really know. And we had our all sort of like go team, you know, at the beginning. So why go? You can advocate for seamless and safe travel, which benefits all of us. So even though those 5 points were not specific to Philadelphia, obviously they help all of us, right? Lower visa wait times, better customs wait times, all of that. And then you can add in specific asks. So when I was there, which was in 2024, I was asking specifically to get funding for Independence National Historical Park. So we see how that worked out. But hey, but this is democracy, right? We got to go, we got to try, right? You got to raise your voice, and yes, you're welcome, right? Now they can't even get people to work for free, but anyway. But it is a chance to put those issues in front of them. You can network with others in the PA travel industry, see democracy in action. I have to say, it was really fun. Like, it was kind of inspiring. Like, we're in the Senate. Like, we're walking down the hall, you're seeing the names of all the senators. We're in Congress, you're seeing the names of the representatives. Like, you're meeting their office. I mean, it was kind of cool. And we were in Bob Casey's office. I'm from the Scranton area, and Bob Casey's from Scranton. So it was kind of cool to be like, I'm here in Bob Casey's office, you know, like tell my dad and stuff. And I would tell people on tour when I would ask them to write to the representatives to get money for the park. And I would say, you know, I went to this lobbying event. It was really cool. We asked about the park. We're trying to get funding. You know, you can kind of talk about how you're a part of our country, right? Of the democracy in our country. DC is beautiful in the spring. It was fun. And then these are the graphics for this year. So it's April 14th and 15th. Obviously, you know, big deal with 2026, 250th, the World Cup, all of that. So they're really promoting it as, you know, really important year for tourism. Come and talk to your representatives so that we make sure we're actually welcoming for all these people who will be coming. And then their keynote speaker is going to be Jake Sherman, who's from Punchbowl News, which is really, if you don't know Punchbowl News, they're on if you watch a lot of the news shows, MSNBC or something like CNN, they'll have them as pundits and things. But they're they don't focus on the flashy things that are happening in Congress, you know, the Marjorie Taylor Greene and, you know, what did she say today? But they're talking about like the really deep legislative, like the day-to-day sort of less interesting, but really important things that are happening. So they really know what's going on. So it was really, really fun. And that's it. So I hope some of you are interested. If you want to go, let me know. When I went, APT covered my registration fee, and I have friends in DC, so I stayed with a friend and took the subway, and, you know, so I didn't deal with the hotel or parking or anything. But if you're interested, you know, let us know. We'll see what the budget will allow. We'll see what we can do. And I don't know if it'll make a difference, but I think it can't hurt, right? So it's 2 days. So you get there, well, unless it's different. When I went, we got there around lunchtime. They actually had lunch for you. And then they have you sit down. It's like a big room with all the different groups, and they go over how to do the advocacy. So they go over their asks. They give you written materials that you can give to the different representatives. And then they had the networking reception at night. And then the next day was the actual lobbying day, where you get like a schedule with times to go see these different representatives. And you might have a break, you might see 2 in a row and then have an hour break and then see 2 more. It kind of depends on how they can schedule it. Any other questions? No? Okay, so I know Bill has an announcement, so let him do it first so I can get my little list. And then if anybody else has any quick announcements they want to make.
So thanks very much for a couple minutes of your time. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Bill News, and I guess I've been coming here a little over, maybe close to a year now, and I got myself involved. Oh, that's good. They should know what I look like. I got myself involved in a bunch of guys down in Kensington that are putting on an event celebrating the nativist riots back in May of 1844. And we do have a marker. I was not involved in the marker process at all. And after hearing what we heard earlier today, I'm glad I was not. But I am involved in going out to different AOHs, which is Hibernian and Irish organizations, and talking about these riots. And we have an event coming up on May 9th at St. Michael's at 2nd and Jefferson. There's going to be a mass. And then they're going to have an unveiling of the marker. And then we're going to have a big festival on American Street. If you know American Street, it's a pretty wide street down there with some music and some Irish dancers and a lot of vendors. And Wissahickon Brewing is going to be present as well. So we're in the beginning stages of all that. But I've gone around to a couple different AOHs already, and it's being very well received. My presentation consists of, this is just in case anybody wants me to come visit with them. I have a personal interest in the riots because I have a great-great-grandfather who was actually present on the streets of that day and ends up in a court record as a witness to one of the murders. At least 20 people were killed in these riots. Some call them Kensington riots, others call them the Bible riots, the nativist riots, whatever you want to call them. But it was not a fun day. 2 days actually. They burnt down St. Michael's. And that's where I come into play because my family was at St. Michael's and I do my family history. And there's my brick wall gone, right? Because all the records were burnt. And then they went down to St. Augustine's and they burnt St. Augustine's down as well. So should be a fun day, but there's a lot of history behind it. And if anybody is interested in having if you're part of a genealogy group or if you're part of an Irish group or just a history group like this, I'll be more than happy to come out and visit with you. I have some cards here that have some history on the back. We have a website. We have a Facebook presence. It's just under Nanny Goat Fest. And the mass is at noon, Jim. Thank you. Noon, and then everything will happen after that. I don't know what sunset in May 9th is, but probably breaking up at 7, 8 o'clock around in there, I would assume. Nanny Goat was the marketplace where all the Irish folks would go and do their trading. Like Head House Square, kind of a setup, just big long barn on American Street. It was called Washington Street back then. But a lot of things happened after. So the city kind of consolidated a lot of the different individual boroughs and townships that were out there. Like Northern Liberties was its own, Kensington was its own, Southwark was its own. The Catholic school system was created because of the Nanny Goat Festival or Nanny Goat situation. A lot of other, we'll say, positive things came out of it, but it was a very negative situation at the time. Thousands and thousands of people were involved in this. So I'll pass these out, or maybe I'll just leave them up front here, however you think I should do that. And then if you have any questions, I'm on the list. So if you have any follow-up for me, I'll be more than happy to have a follow-up conversation with you. All right. Awesome.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, we're going to put Tim on. You want to say something?
Does it need to be on mic? I'm loud.
So you gotta be like, let me just say one thing. I just want to not forget to say about the Mummers field trip is Sunday. So that Jenna's going to take us to her Mummers Club and the Mummers Museum. So just want to make sure I didn't forget to say that because it's coming up really soon. But Tim McAleer is from Founding Footsteps, and he was not able to attend our job fair. So I told him he could have a few minutes to just say hi to everybody and tell us what you're looking for, if you're looking for people or not. I don't know, but go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, so we have a trolley company in Philly, Founding Footsteps. I know a lot of times individual guides will get approached by larger groups. And so we wanted to offer something to tour members. If you need transportation, we are very, very, very cheap and would work with you on that. We just did it for Grim Philly Tours. And so it's a good, we've done it for We Venture as well. So it's sort of like really, like if we know it's a guide who has a group, we're going to make sure that you can make a fair amount of money on it, right? We're not going to try to gouge you over it. So we are looking for guides always. I always kind of say, like, I don't know that I have the work to support a full-time guide, but we're always looking for people to help when I get the bigger events. You know, people come in and looking for things. So our email is tours@Founding Footsteps. It's the best way to reach because, as Marianne knows, I am terrible at communication, but that goes to my admin. And so he would get back to everybody. So, but yeah, just want to say hello and that's it. Thanks.
On Sunday, oh, come on, Marianne, you can read that one. Can you read that little? Oh.
All right. So Ernest wanted me to read this. This is from Joe Beckton, I guess, right? He has a special awards ceremony on the 15th of February. So that's Sunday. The University City Historical Society is honoring Joe Beckton, giving him an award around 4 o'clock at the Rotunda. 4014, is that the address of the Rotunda? On Sunday, the 15th. If you have a chance, come on by. Yeah, so it's basically just a personal message to Ernest, but he wanted everyone to know that Joe Beckton is getting an award on Sunday around 4 o'clock at the Rotunda at Penn. And so come out. I guess it's open. It's like open to the public. Open to the public. Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know about that. The Rotunda. Did Gigi already leave? You know, Gigi had an exhibit there. I don't know who knows Penn well. 40th and Walnut. It's one of the buildings at Penn, and it's like a round building. They do concerts and stuff there. I've been there, but Faye says it's 40th and Walnut. So I lost my notes where I wrote down everything that we have going on, but I know we have Sunday is the Mummers thing. Next Tuesday is the coffee break with Jim. The exam will be the 14th of March. So if any of you are looking to get certified, that's our next exam, March 14th. I have a couple of lanyards left here. If anybody, any of our new members did not get a lanyard. Okay. And Stephen's going to have something. So hold on one second. Anything else, board members? I'm forgetting. Oh, Judith has something too. All right. Will it come up? If you can.
For the lay of the land on
Say it in the mic.
28th, February the 28th, from 12 to 3. It's a chat and chew. So I'm gonna feed you all a nice little lunch, and you'll learn about the land we impend, how it was extended all the way to the suburbs of Philadelphia, where North Philadelphia is, and then some foundational families and what they did on the land. So please come on out. You're welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. That's at the Discovery Center. I'm sorry, 3401 Reservoir Drive, the lovely Discovery Center in Fairmont Park, East Fairmont Park. Marianne has been she does such a great job and keeping us informed. So go to her notification, get all the details. If you need any additional details, it's the newsletter, right? Okay, she's the best at that. And if you have any requests or any details, any information you want, my Gmail address is there, north to the world, phl@gmail.com. Thank you all. Yes.
That's where it's at. So you know the area now.
Yeah, if you do the bus tour to Fairmont Park, we went by it. I also History Matters. The next one will be February 21st is a Saturday. I only have a couple, I think I have 4 people volunteered so far. So make sure sign up. There's a Google form in the newsletter for you to sign up. We're getting it. It's almost a well-oiled machine. We're not quite there yet. But especially now with the panels being gone from the president's house, it's a really good time for us to be out. Basically, we're at 5 spots around the park. President's House, Liberty Bell, Old City Hall, Independence Hall, and Congress Hall, talking about underrepresented history. So mostly Black history. We could also tell women's stories, LGBTQ, Indigenous stories, whatever you have that's not the typical story, right? So they'll make sure that history doesn't get lost. And Stephen has something he wants to say.
On the note of the president's house, on President's Day, February 16th at noon, the Avenging the Ancestors Coalition is having another rally, trying to get people aware of what's going on and hopefully trying to get the panels restored. So again, President's Day, February 16th at noon at the president's house.
Yes, and shout out to Stephen Pierce here and to my Jewel, who isn't here today, who spoke at the last rally. So let's give a nice warm applause to them representing APT so well. We're really proud of you guys. Right. Oh, the Time Council. Thank you. Yeah. So Rob brought up to me that the Independence Trust is putting together a time capsule for 2026 that I guess will be opened in 50 years from now at the next celebration. And he thought maybe APT could submit something to be included in this time capsule. I don't know what that could be. Rob was thinking, the handbook. I don't know if paper is good or we definitely don't want to do something digital, but he thought maybe something metal or plastic, that would last over the 50 years. So think about it. If you have ideas, email me and we'll put Rob in charge of the judging and see what everybody thinks, or maybe we'll do have a competition or something. But if you think of anything, we did one in 1980 when I was in middle school, and all I remember is this one girl put a wedding picture of her brother that got married in 1980. That's all I remember from our time capsule. So I'm not really I don't know what goes in them. I don't know. I'm not in touch with that. I'm not in touch with that girl anymore. Woman now. Anybody else have any announcements, anything they want to share? Yeah, if you have questions about the Mummer field trip, see Jen before you leave. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Zoom.